yes is the simple answer to that. There are different types of assaults, but assaults on people who are doing their job in their workplace should be taken extremely seriously. They are, if there's an assault, for example, on police officers, we need to make sure that those that are working in retail also get the protection that they deserve. They're doing their job. They should be free to do that without being attacked in any way, whether that's verbally or physically. Universal credit has been a complete nightmare, and we've been voting against the changes on every occasion that we can, because it's bringing about a real injustice, and we will continue with that campaign to make sure that so many people don't lose out as a result of the government's changes. It's really important that working people don't pay the price for Brexit. Nobody voted to lose their job, to be poorer, or not to have the future that they deserve. That's why what we're doing in resetting the objectives and saying the priority has got to be jobs and the economy is so important. The Prime Minister has said control of the borders, immigration is more important than jobs and the economy. So different priorities, but also making sure that the benefits of the single market and the customs union are properly understood and are hardwired into any deal. Workers' rights are under threat from Tory governments. That's been the case for a very, very long time. What the EU did was to ring-fence key rights so the Tories couldn't get their hands on them. What we now need to do is to make sure that that protection is not lost as we go through the process of leaving the EU. And so that's why we're fighting so hard for workers' rights, not only to be maintained, but actually not to be unhitched from Europe. We don't want workers in the UK falling behind the standards that are evolving in Europe. We've been very concerned about executive pay, and the inequality now between those that are earning at the top and at the bottom has got to a point, it's got to a breaking point, and we need to do something to reduce that, and Labour is committed to reducing that. But there's much more to it than that. It's not just about how we, as it were, limit what happens at the top. It's how do we drive up the pay and conditions of everybody, wherever they are within a business. So that gap needs to contract, but it needs to operate in both directions. We need security of employment. It's something we fought for years ago, and it's been eroded year on year on year as people work in more fragmented employment situations, on more fragile contracts. We need stronger contracts with rights built in at an earlier stage, whether that's unfair dismissal or all the other rights that need to be there. But it's about giving people the dignity and security that they need at work. Well, lots of people talk to me and to the Labour Party generally about immigration. And what we've said is there's got to be a fair system, and it's got to be managed, but it's got to work for our communities, so we need to talk to our communities about what they need. But it's also got to work for the economy so that our businesses can flourish. But most of all, this is about tone and approach. And what we must never slip into, is a tone that suggests that anybody who's come here from another country is not welcome. They're our friends and our neighbours, and so the first thing we must always say is how much we welcome the contribution that those from other countries have made coming here to work and be with us. Look at the last 8 years. Look at what they've done to the economy. Far from a position of strength coming out of the recession, they've made things worse. And we've had austerity, greater division, greater inequality. And then look at the way they're negotiating Brexit. They're losing the confidence of the business community. And so this myth that the Conservatives are strong on the economy and Labour isn't, it needs to be turned on its head. And if you look at what we've got in our manifesto, we've got actually a programme for investing and strengthening the economy, and we need the chance to put that into action. We've got to invest more in the NHS. and we've got to ensure that people in the NHS are treated with dignity. The workforce there are stretched every day of the week. They need the resources and the facilities that they are entitled to. And what we should look back to is what the last Labour government did with the NHS, where it invested. We had new hospitals, we had a bright future for the NHS, which now sadly has been run down. Well, the Labour government needs to make the case loud and clear that trade union membership is vitally important. And I think for Usdaw that's really important, because you're in sectors where there's a constant struggle and challenge to get new members because of the turnover of staff. We need to support that, we need to make the case, and we all also need to make the case for collective bargaining, where Parliament sets the minimum terms for anybody working and the trade unions then collectively bargain on top of that to improve pay and conditions for everybody they represent.